Actually, a couple minutes after 5 p.m. on the West Coast, and we are live. Welcome, adventurers. I'm your guide, Sean McZoo. This is the Reptile Show reporter. Buckle up because it's time to start the music. Bill Strand's with me as well here, and our guest is yet to come. Hey, we're here. It's live, and it's Bill and I don't know what's happening. Paris is stuck. I just was recording a podcast with her, and she's stuck, and it's still downloading, and she's going to stop that download and get on with us. I think she's going to be on any sec here, so we're going to start the show without her. Let's go ahead and get to chat. How about that?
All right.
Where is no? This is
James says we're frozen.
We're frozen. Are we still frozen? We seem to be moving, and everybody. I see him. He sees us. And here's Paris.
Hi,
Paris.
Oh, hello, Paris.
Hey, somebody said we're frozen. Are we still frozen, or I know Two Turtle Tom said let's get this party started since we were a couple minutes late. Impatience, I tell you. But Paris, welcome. I just need to do the rest of the beginning of the show. Today we're discussing axolotls, and Paris is back to update us. But first, Bill, any announcements?
Oh, I have no announcements other than we're going to have an episode on the Chameleon Academy about Tribulinotus, the red-eyed and white-eyed crocodile skinks. That's on Friday.
Those are awesome, Bill.
Yes.
And the guy is right here in Cleveland. I'm trying to find him. I haven't seen him in any of these reptile shows, but you're going to get this another reptile I'm going to have to get. I don't know.
They lay one egg at a time, so it's going to be a while.
I'll have to get that one. I'll have to be sitting in front of his house when he drives out to the thing. So, all right. And hey, podcast number 5 has dropped. That's Bill Strand, the headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, is on the podcast with me. Learn all about him and more. You can get it on Spotify and all the other Apple podcasts and what have you, iHeartRadio. And I've also put it on YouTube, which I forgot to do with the first 4. They are there now, but I forgot at first to do that. So let's see. Did I mention the pillars last? Yeah, I think I mentioned last week that the pillars have changed. The pillars are 4, the show, 3, the vendors, 2, the other stuff, which is things like bugs and cages and other stuff that you might find at a reptile show. And then the potential pets is still number 1. So, all right, let's get this party going. Paris, how are you?
Pretty good.
All right, let's see. We're going to say hello to everyone. He can see us now, and Two Turtle Tom is here, and all right, James Cross can see us. Okay, so all right, so. What have we been? I just told everyone that we were on a podcast, so it's kind of strange to have you podcast before we see you on the live, because this is something people are going to see next, and then the podcast is going to be out a week and a half or 2 weeks from now, and so it'll be as long as your side downloads. But she's having some slow speeds over there, but she seems to be doing very well today. So or at this part, so I don't know if the software is strange or what have you, but So what have you been up to, Paris, since we last saw you?
Breeding axolotls. That's pretty much it.
Okay, all right. And tell us about the axolotls, because there's a lot of people who weren't here the first time and might not remember, or what's the story on axolotls?
Yeah, so
Mexico City, I remember you telling me just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, they come from a lake in Mexico City. And they're critically endangered in the wild. The last sighting or confirmed sighting of one was back in 2013. So they might be extinct. We're not entirely sure. But they are really unique in that they can regrow their limbs and parts of their brains. And they're a really fascinating creature.
Great. Yeah, I asked you the question about whether like amoebas where you can cut them in half and they'll regrow. Don't answer it again now. Let people watch the podcast 2 weeks to find out if we get more of them by cutting them in half. The quick answer is probably not, but because they can regrow limbs and maybe part of their brain, but the whole body is probably beyond it. So, tell me, how did these get into the to possession or to become captive or to be bred in
the trade?
Yeah, the trade. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, so originally, axolotls were mainly kept for research. So a lot of laboratories across the U.S. Get their axolotls just for research. Eventually, these axolotls that were used for research were released into the pet trade, and they've just exploded in popularity since then.
I moved Bill over to the other side because that's what I usually do, but I hadn't done that, so the Reptile Show reporter's over me and not over him. So that's why he was looking at me funny. But
that's just the way I look, man.
This will throw people off. I know. Okay. So they were used for research, and they're here. They're still now. I remember the last time I was just listening to the last live we did, and you said there were 7 or 8 different species, and that was it of the actually specimens of the species.
Yep, there were only a very small handful of specimens that were originally used, and all axolotls in the pet trade and the laboratory trade all come from those 8.
Okay. And you were telling me earlier that they're combined with some type of salamander?
Yes, they were crossbred to tiger salamanders a very, very long time ago to get the albino gene in axolotls. Yeah, so they are technically hybrids.
Okay. So, but they don't actually go through a full morphing into a salamander. They stay what is it that they stay at?
Yeah, they stay neonatic.
Neonatic, okay. So and so that means that they have to be in the water. You can't take them out and run them anywhere, and you can't play it like other type of the amphibians and what have you. But, okay. All right. So
I want to know who did the hybridizing. Was that pet trade or the lab people?
It was lab people.
Why did they do that?
I have no idea. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate because we don't have any pure stock anymore.
And why the axolotl? Well, why was that so attractive to lab people? You know those.
Yeah, I believe it was mainly due for their regeneration and how easy they are to breed. Okay. Yeah.
And so, how do you know whether to breed them or not?
So with axolotls, in the pet trade, we need lineage back to the grandparents, at minimum, because they are so insanely inbred from coming from those original 8. So we have to be extremely careful with which axolotls that we pair. There are some breeders who are not being careful at all. And inbreeding is very, very dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. So inbreeding can cause genetic deformities and abnormalities, and it can cause them to morph due to having the tiger salamander DNA, which we do not want our axolotls to morph.
All right. Because then they would be able to get up and out of the water and do stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And so it's dangerous to the axolotls, not to us humans, if we inbreed them. Okay. That I think was definitely understandable, but I want to make sure we clarified that. Sometimes you can say, playing with different chemicals in water can do those type of things. But okay. So tell us about them. How do you prepare? If I wanted to get an axolotl tomorrow, which I can't get because I don't have a tank that's ready, what do I have to do if I want to get one in 2 weeks or 3 months?
So the first step is getting your tank cycled. Tank cycling is typically a 6 to 8 week process. It's basically building the nitrogen cycle and make sure that the ammonia and nitrates do not harm your axolotl. I've received many, many rescues from people who do not cycle their tank, and then their axolotl gets severe ammonia burn and almost dies. So it's extremely important to cycle a tank.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Once their tank is cycled, their care is pretty easy.
Okay. So do they repair themselves from this ammonia burn? Is it a lifelong issue?
It does take quite a bit of time as the ammonia burns off their slime coat, which protects them from like disease and all that sort of stuff. So they're very susceptible to getting sick if their slime coat is burned off like that. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. That's terrible that they get their slime coat burned off. But I guess in the wild, they're extinct in the wild, essentially. I mean, what is the definition of extinct? Bill, do you know? How long do you have to be missing to be extinct?
I do not know the official.
Okay.
I can look it up right now.
All right, you do that because I'm
that.
busy asking this fine guest the different questions. So why don't you try to look it up? I guess if you're a human being and you're gone for a year, that you could be declared dead. But I don't know what axolotls have to do. So all right. So what other species do you have?
So currently I'm breeding crested geckos as well. That's going pretty well. I have 4 tiny babies who like to try and escape constantly.
Awesome. Not that they're trying to escape, but that they're alive and alert enough to try to get out and go.
And by the way, extinct is when the IUCN defines it as there is no reasonable doubt that the last individual of a species has died.
Okay, so there's no time frame. So actually, if they're in captivity, can they not be extinct then? I guess in the wild. I guess that's.
I think we have to say extinct in the wild.
Right.
But
yeah. Okay.
If they're all hybrids, maybe we can say that axolotls are extinct.
Yeah, I guess that is straight 100% axolotls. But then that comes into the whole thing is what is anything? How do you define it?
Yeah, well,
right. Okay.
I will let the scientists argue over that.
They are functionally extinct.
So there we go.
Tom. Here we go. We'll put Tom knows something about everything.
Yeah,
but he's also a huge. He's a botanist, but also a lot into reptiles and amphibians and what have you. So I probably trust him on this.
Yeah, Tom's good to have around.
Yes, he is. He's great to have around. And he's another one of the people I've done a podcast on. So I need to get a few more people on this that are watching us today to be on the podcast. So, okay. So Paris, what else can you tell us about the other species that you have?
Yeah. So crested geckos. I mean, they're crested geckos. They're easy. But they're pretty fun. They're my favorite species of lizard.
Okay.
Just because they're so cool. I'm looking at them right now. They're over in the corner. But yeah, they're pretty easy to breed as well. And then I'm also technically breeding zebra finches, but I haven't started like selling them. But yeah, that they're in the background. I don't know if my microphone's picking up on them, but they've been screaming.
We're getting them.
Yeah, they've been screaming this entire time.
That's okay.
Screaming they don't sound screaming to us. They just sound like a little beep in the background.
Yes, I like to say that they sound like a tiny traffic jam.
Would you say you're like technically a breed? What did you say? You were
technically trying to breed them, but I'm not like selling them. I'm using some of their eggs for my African egg-eating snake.
Aha! Now we understand. You mentioned that earlier, and I didn't actually get to that question as to how do you get the eggs. And so you're breeding for the eggs. Okay, now the circle of life kind of thing going on there. Okay, that makes sense. Those are the right size eggs and everything for your snake. Okay, so
she's
tiny. You also have rats and mice, but you're not breeding them for food.
Yeah, no.
You're actually not breeding them anymore, right? All right. You had mentioned earlier today, nobody else is going to hear about it till 2 weeks from now. But once I get it we get it up and loaded and what have you. But that your previous name before Critters in the Valley was what?
Paris's Insectary. It was back when I was doing like isopods and cockroaches and all that stuff.
That's the actual question I didn't ask. I don't know why I didn't follow up with what the heck was this insectary, because you gave me a list of creatures that had no insects on it. So so you were breeding isopods and what else?
Cockroaches, like Madagascar hissers and stuff like that.
Did you stop doing those, or?
I still do them a little bit, not as much as the isopods. I just have a tank of hissers, and they just breed constantly.
Kind of like Bill's green banana roaches. Actually, they're not even Bill's anymore. They used to be Bill's pet project, but now they're his wife.
They have been stolen.
Oh my goodness!
They've been roach napped by my wife, of all people.
Yeah,
he said, "These are mine now."
Yes, but you shouldn't complain about her because she's tremendous and wonderful. She brings you coffee in the middle of a live show, and she takes over and does all kinds of reptile stuff. I mean, my wife is fabulous and wonderful, and I've been with her for 30 years. So I can't. I don't want to make anyone make a mistake that I don't think mine is fabulous, but yours is also a good accompaniment or a partner for you. So,
well, yes, she's fabulous, and she stole my green banana roaches.
Yes.
Those two exist in the same room and are not mutually exclusive.
And Liz Ann says, your wife is lovely. Let her keep her bugs. Your bugs. Well, she said your bugs. So as long as they're your bugs, then they are your bugs. So
there aren't a whole lot of choice. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
It's just like the hedgehog that we had to get Caitlin of Edenfield on this podcast, on the live in the podcast is what I had to do. My wife Jennifer takes care of that instead of my daughter, who's supposed to be. So you've got these wives who are great at doing stuff. So it's a great life to have. So all right, let's see. You were talking about bugs and your previous name, and then you changed your name from Insectary, which would have been a terrible name for axolotl breeder. Bill, she made a mention that she's not technically breeding them, but selling.
It's kind of like me and chameleons.
Do you have to be selling them to be a breeder? Because I haven't sold a chameleon in a while because I keep breeding them and keeping them.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you're a breeder when you breed them, and if you have to actually sell them, then I'm falling short of that title.
All right, so you're probably giving more away than selling, but when you get a whole bunch of veils that nobody wants, then it's a trouble. But
I find the people who want them, these special individuals
who don't want them, and you send them as if they're something else. You mislabel them, unfortunately, on the way. Although by law you have to label them correctly to ship them, so they end up getting here with the wrong name or the right name on them. So, anyway, all right. So, Paris, what are you up to next?
I'm going to college.
Going to college?
Start next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Is that next
exciting.
Week?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, first year in college. That'll be. That's correct. First year.
Yep.
Okay. So, and you're going to be studying what?
I'm going for an Associate's of Science.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going for a Bachelor's in Biology.
Mm-hmm.
And then a Master's and a PhD in Genetics.
Wow. Ooh. So that you said earlier is like 7 years.
Yep.
A 7-year plan, right? Bill and I don't even know what we're doing next week. Bill probably does because he started a journal. What is that? A journal, so he's got to be 3 months ahead, so he knows what he's doing for the next 3 months.
Yeah, I started the Chameleon Academy Journal. It's a digital magazine.
Magazine.
In there, I have a schedule of everything I'm doing for 2 months, and it has gotten me organized. It's amazing. I've actually added something to my plate that has helped me not be so stressed. I mean, how does that work?
That's awesome. I probably have to do that. Although I would call it a journal because I don't read magazines anymore. So, but anyways, okay. So Paris, how did you get into reptile shows?
So I saw it advertised online, probably back in like late early 2021. Back when COVID was like starting to like slow down. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I didn't know that existed. So I went to the Cleveland one. And I loved it. So I've been going ever since.
So do you go every month?
Yep, pretty much.
But they haven't found a spot for you to vend, huh?
Nope,
You're
unfortunately.
vending at the Northeast Ohio, you said earlier today. And are you still at the Fremont, or have you given that one up as well?
I sort of given up on that one.
Okay, because you didn't sell any over there, and there's a couple
Yeah.
axolotl people. So, okay, all right, I understand. That makes sense. So you go every month to the Cleveland one, which is actually in Medina, which is not even Cleveland, but it's another
Yeah.
county. But that was actually in Cleveland for a long, long time. If you want to hear the whole story about it, check out the podcast with Two Turtle Tom. He goes back and we talk about the whole thing. I think that's podcast number 4 or 5. Yeah, 5. Bill's 5. So number 4. So we talk about it in depth. I won't waste the time on this live since Tom is already on there as one of our people viewing it. But you can hear about all the Ohio show, which is connected to it, and what have you. All right. And so what was the first time you vended?
The first time I vended was back in March at the Fremont show.
Okay. And that didn't go as well as you thought.
Yeah, how was that
I
experience?
kind of expected it to not go well, just because of how specialized axolotls are. You can't just go to an expo, impulse buy it, and then do research on it later, just because of how like complex they are. Especially with like their tank and their water. But we got quite a few like care guides out, and that definitely helped quite a bit.
Okay. So do you ship them to people?
Yes, I have shipped as far as Alaska.
Wow. Is that overnight shipping or
oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Definitely overnight shipping. Apparently you put them in a container with water. I used to get fish at some point, saltwater fish from other countries, but so you put them in a container with water, and you can ship them overnight. How much water do you have to put in there?
So I do these like, I believe they're like 15 inches by 18-inch bags, and I do like half water, half air. You have to like fast them for multiple days beforehand, just so that they don't dirty the water, because that can kill them. Just because of the ammonia buildup. But they're pretty resilient to shipping. So far, fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, but I have not lost a single axolotl to shipping yet.
And so if you've cycled your tank, which you have obviously, and you're shipping them in your water, does the person receiving them have an advantage to the cycled water being there, or is the bacteria not in the water?
So the bacteria is primarily on the filter and the substrate. Okay. It's not necessarily in the water as much. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's not nearly enough.
So it's not enough. Okay.
Yeah, but you can also ship like filter media. You just have to add ammonia to the water before you ship it. Okay,
that's neat. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. Okay, so you're shipping axolotls as far as Alaska. Wow, it's like across. It's not part of the continental United States.
One of my best friends breeds.
But it's not connected, I guess. Contiguous, I guess.
Yeah, one of my best friends who breeds is up in Alaska. So I'll send axolotls up to her, and then she'll send axolotls back. Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right. For the guy who is totally new, what do they eat?
So I primarily feed mine worms once they're above 3 inches. Under 3 inches, they can eat. I feed mine blackworms, which are insanely expensive. I just ordered in a pound of them, and it was, I believe, $120 with shipping. Wow. That pound will probably last me about 2 weeks with a decent sized clutch.
Okay.
Yeah, and the blackworms were on sale. So it typically costs you about $180 for shipping.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were recently at a axolotl and what was it? Axolotl and something else.
All Ohio axolotl and isopod sale.
Wow. Okay. I don't know how they got
a show just for axolotls and isopods.
Yes, it's primarily axolotls and isopods. They also have like other amphibians and insects there, but it's mainly just the axolotls and isopods. It was a really fun show, though.
So let's put you in the seat of a reporter for us and have you tell us about it. Where was the show?
Yeah, so this was down in Columbus. I believe it's near the same place that they do the all Ohio show.
Was it the county fairgrounds or?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
it was the
so
county
that's where they do
fairgrounds.
the Ohio
Yep.
show. Yeah. Okay.
I believe it's run by the same people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the? I know those people like New Caledonia geckos, but I didn't know that there was anything with axolotls in them. So okay. And so, what was your experience there? I mean, what was it like?
Yeah, it was.
In? How much did it cost? Was parking expensive?
I believe parking was free. Entry was $5.
Okay.
It was really, really fun. A lot of the people who came to the show obviously were there for axolotls, and they knew what they were doing, which is amazing compared to some of the other expos that I have been to and interacted with the people there. A lot of people will just come up and say, "Ooh, an axolotl, how much does this cost?" And they don't know anything on them. So it was really refreshing to have a show where people actually knew what they were doing. Even if it was like kind of far, because it's like a 2-hour drive from me. But it's one of my favorite shows.
How many vendors did they have?
I believe they had like 4 or 5 axolotl people there. And then quite a few insect vendors as well.
Okay. So was it the whole? Did it take up the whole area of a show, or?
Yeah, pretty much the entire area.
Okay. All right. So, okay, that's great. And did you do any business down there, or?
Oh yeah, we sold a lot of axolotls there.
Great.
How many people come to a show like that? That's pretty special.
Yeah, we didn't expect as many people to come to it because obviously people love their ball pythons. And there were no reptiles allowed. So we were kind of like, I wonder how this is gonna go. But there was a really decent turnout.
No reptiles allowed?
No reptiles allowed.
Wow. Elitists going
Yeah.
on.
Well, they also run 2 reptile shows, though, Bill. You got to give them cut them a break because they're doing the All Ohio and All Cleveland reptile show on a different date. So
all I'm saying is, for every reptile show, insects and axolotls are welcome.
Yes, I know. But this was a very specific show. All right. So was this the first one recently, or has this been going on for a while?
It just the first one was back in April. And the second one is coming up. It's in, let's see, 2 months. So in October. Okay. So we're preparing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Is it going to be? It's going to be at a different weekend than the All Ohio show, though.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What can you tell us is different about that show than a reptile show? The standard.
It had a very, very different atmosphere.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It was really interesting because typically you go to a reptile show and you'll have about 500 tables of ball pythons, and then about like maybe 2 axolotls, and then a couple scattered insects, and like 1 table with like rats and mice. So it was really interesting.
So when's the next one going to be?
It should be October 29th, I want to say. It's a Saturday.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything planned for that weekend except for the Fremont show is probably Fremont show's on Sunday, so it wouldn't be that day yet as well. So okay. All right. Maybe I'll have to drive down and check that one out. So okay. What else can you tell us about the show?
Not a ton. I know that there are going to be quite a few other axolotl people there. Just because it was like their first time starting out. A lot of the breeders that I know in the area were kind of like suspicious of it. Just like wondering like if it was actually going to be any good. So I know that there are going to be a lot more axolotl people there.
How do axolotl breeders, let's say, compete or differentiate themselves? I mean, if you have 5 tables of axolotl breeders, is there any difference?
There's definitely a difference with like quality, especially if you're breeding animals that you have like lineage on. And a lot of people cohab them when they're babies, which I don't do just because they like to eat each other. So you'll get a lot of axolotls with like nipped gills and limbs, a lot of really sickly babies. And you can definitely tell the difference between ones that are individually raised versus communally raised. I had quite a few people come up to me at the last one telling me that my babies looked the best.
Okay.
That's awesome. Okay. It's great to get that kind of feedback, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about the Axolotl show, Bill?
No, but it sounds like a real cool show to go to.
Yes, I guess I'm going to have to do that in October 28th.
I'm still
It's either
fascinated.
the 28th or the 29th.
Okay. Saturday in October. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm still
So the last
fascinated as
Saturday in
to the
October.
decision to do a axolotl and insect show. I mean, why that combo?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
So, but it's very cool to be able to have specialty shows like that.
I'm going to have to get this guy on. It's actually the son of the original guy, and have him explain it to us because I did see him again in Columbus, and I'll see him again in Medina next time. Although the shows were back to back, so I didn't go to both of them this month. But I'll have to get him on and have him explain to me what the heck happened is going on. So,
okay, so I'll in a little bit of a community question here. Is the axolotl community made up of breeders, or are there people that just want to keep them as pets?
It's definitely a mix of both. There are a lot of people breeding that should not be breeding right now.
Okay.
Just because of how popular they are due to Minecraft. But I definitely say there's more
to Minecraft.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they added axolotls into Minecraft a few years back, and
oh boy.
Yeah.
You were telling us earlier that they don't even do the right things with axolotls.
Yeah.
They get up out of the water and walk around, and you can't trust these video games to learn any reptile care.
Yep.
Or
come on.
amphibian care.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice.
All right, so Stephanie Payne made it again. Better late than never. All right. So, any other questions for?
Yeah. Well, so how do people generally do research to find axolotls? Can they go to Google, and if they type in axolotl care, will good information come up?
Typically, no. Especially right now. I'm really pushing for some people to provide better care for their animals. Currently, a lot of breeders are not caring for their animals properly. A lot are, like I said, communally raising, keeping their axolotls in too small tanks. Yeah.
That sounds very much like our chameleons, Bill.
Yep.
And all the other things. Community raising, when we were just talking about Dallas and how he leads the trend on individual raising, although you started it when you started talking about it, and too small a cage is one of your things, and that's just that's across the whole reptile type phenomenon. It seems like cages are not big enough. There's not enough activity, and there's just not. I don't know. Paris, axolotls, is there anything to enrich their lives that we should do to them?
Yeah, so okay. I always provide mine with like hides, and I'll put like fake plants in there. A lot of if you give them stuff to do, they will do stuff. Okay. A lot of people think that they'll just sit there for their entire lives and do nothing, when it's not true. When you provide them enrichment, they will move around and they'll enjoy themselves.
All right. So plants, hides, any other things that you do with enrichment, like different foods?
Yeah, you can provide like different foods. Like I feed all my axolotls primarily night crawlers, but occasionally I'll give them like red wigglers, and black worms, occasionally like brine shrimp, but primarily earthworms is the best.
Okay, and so let's see, what else was I going to ask? Foods and so what do your current food? What are the wigglers or whatever it is that you're feeding the adults? What does that run? You said the little ones are the black ones.
Yeah, the little ones are eating the black worms. Thankfully, earthworms are not nearly as expensive. You can typically buy like bait worms for like fishing, and they'll work just fine. I use I believe it's called Peach Creek Worm Farm, and they have amazing prices. I bought I believe it was 5 pounds of night crawlers for like $100, and that will last me a couple months. So it's not bad at all.
1/5 the cost of
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you care for night crawlers for 5 months?
Yeah, so I keep mine in like a Sterilite tote. And then you'll put like shredded like cardboard and like paper in the bottom. Then you'll put like Eco Earth on top of that. And they'll crawl through it. I'm trying to breed them a little bit. I have so many axolotls that my worm farm just cannot keep up producing them. So it's sustained me a while, but I'm gonna have to order more worms here soon. I think the last time I bought worms was like, I want to say in April.
Okay. Hey, what do you feed night crawlers to make them nutritious?
So typically I feed mine like carrots, potatoes. They can eat pretty much any food scraps. You just want to avoid like meat. But yeah, it's sort of like a compost bin. So you throw the food scraps in there and they'll eat them. They're not too picky.
Okay.
Wow, Bill, I don't know if you can hear in the background. It's coming down in pouring rain out here. I was wondering what the heck was boiling in the kitchen, but it's pouring rain, and so it's kind of distracting me. It's like really, really coming down. Good thing I live on a hill so that I won't be flooded. But anyways, sorry about that. Any other questions, Bill?
No, I think that's they're pretty fascinating creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really fun.
Any final words, Paris, that you wanted everyone to know? Or
yeah, so I'm currently working on a project right now with axolotls. I forgot to mention this in the podcast.
Okay.
But a couple of breeder friends of mine and I are starting up the American Axolotl Organization.
Mm-hmm.
So we are working on providing breeders like a base guideline for what certain morphs of axolotl should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And just like standardize varieties to give breeders like a goal to work towards. Because currently we're finding a lot of people are just breeding random axolotls. And that's not how it should be. And we're trying to like make a more concise lineage tracker to make it a little bit easier for people who are like buying the axolotls and stuff. But so far it's going really well.
Great. Awesome. I'll have to figure out how to add that to the podcast. I'm sure I can use this video or whatever a little bit, or downloads, and we'll figure it out. But all right. And do you have a website or?
Yeah, we have a website. I believe it's just AmericanAxolotLOrganization.com.
Okay. And how about you personally? Critters in the Valley? Do you have a website?
It's crittersinthevalley.square.site.
Okay. All right. So apparently you use Square as your
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Bill. Any final thoughts?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Paris, for doing both of these today.
Yeah.
We will have to hear from you probably a year from now, see how college is going and how the axolotl world is going, or maybe 6 months. But we'll bring you back at some point. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye, Paris.
Bye.